Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the August 9th regular scheduled meeting of the Lamar County School Board. Before we get started, I've asked you a chance to lead the word of prayer.
That's great. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us all here tonight safely, Lord. Thank you for guiding us in any decisions that we have tonight and decisions that we made in the past, and those that are coming to us in the future, Lord. We know that there's no easy task, there's no easy decisions right now, but with your guidance, we know that we'll make the right decision. Please be with everyone as they leave tonight and go home. Thank you for your many blessings. Same operation.
Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, with God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Item number 2 on our agenda are our meeting procedures. This basically just means if you have not been given approval prior to this meeting to speak at the meeting, then you will not be allowed to do so. We also have copies of our agenda. If you came in the back, we have some back there if you will keep up. Okay? All right, item number 3 is the approval of the general agenda. And before I get started, hold on one second. We do have one board member who's not present here in person, but she is with us electronically. We can, Dawson's got it set up, so Ms. Jeannie Henschling she is present just for the virtual. Okay?
How are we going to know?
She's going to say.
Say something.
Can you hear me?
I think that's something.
I have to turn your.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to put your phone on YouTube. All right, so item number 3 is the approval of the general agenda. We'll have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item number 4 is the approval of the July 12, 2021 minutes. We'll have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 5 is the approval of the ad valorem tax resolution for Lamar County. We'll have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes. Item number 6 is the approval of the ad valorem tax resolution for Corrigal County. Have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 7 is the approval to accept comparable replacement tablet in lieu of payment for replacement of fixed asset number 046239.
Make the motion that we accept that replacement tablet.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes. Item number 8 is the approval to waive payment for replacement of fixed asset number 044188, which was found at the school. Have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 9 is to approve to accept the bid of $156,975 from Zeptive for furnishing and installing the air quality detector.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 10 is the approval to accept the bid of $163,323.21 from HDI Enterprises for replacement of the Oak Grove Middle School gym floor. I have a motion.
So moved.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 11 are our 16th section land management matters. Mr. Harms.
First, I have approved assignment of lease number 880. Dale Hathaway, that's going to be considered representation.
Okay, before I call for a motion, Mr. Superintendent, you're going to do this. Do we have a motion?
Motion that we approve the assignment of that lease.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Next item is cancel lease number 207.
We will be taking from individual.
Can't
Do
do
each
them all
one
together.
individually.
Individual. Let's make a motion to be on these number 27.
Right, have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes.
Next item is cancel lease number 209.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That passes.
Next item is cancel lease number 234 for Dennis Beers.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Next item is cancel lease number 235 for Dennis Beers.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Next item is cancel lease 36.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any will go out. Thank you. Any opposed? And that passes.
Next item is to approve the new 25-year commercial lease for Dennis Beers.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes.
Next item is the lawyer bid inside bank account.
Here's this new cabinet.
Up on the County Insurance Road. First bid I have, Gary Johnson, Steve Johnson, $35.55 per acre. Next bid I have is Carl Blazeworth for $21 per acre. Then I have Keith and Christie Bond. Yes, ma'am. Last bid I have is from William Lincoln, $34.50. The highest bidder was Gary and Steve Johnson, $35. Not bid.
I'll make a motion that we award that to our lease to the Johnson Brothers.
Have a motion, do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes.
The last item I have is release number 74, Charles Henry. Contractor.
I have a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. All right, item number 12, we have Dr. Anita Henderson here to make a presentation for us.
Thank you for inviting me tonight to just talk about COVID in schools and an update. I appreciate Dr. Hanson and Jamie and Matt Maye for asking me tonight. So really, to start out, the point of us all being here is really to figure out how can we get our children in school, how can we get them there safely for in-person learning, and how can we keep them there. So we all agree that that is our goal, that children learn best in person as opposed to virtual. So let's just start with where we are right now. And so this is a slide but it has gone over the numbers of cases and testing at Hattiesburg Clinic over the last year. So this is a bar graph that's week by week. And you see that last line that is over 3,000, that's the number of cases. That's the number of tests we did the last week of July. So that's the most testing that we have ever done, over 3,000 cases. And we had our highest number of positives ever the last week of July of over 700. So that's where we are. The next week is short just because we didn't have all the data, but I guarantee you it's even higher than that based on the testing that we've done at our clinic and throughout Hattiesburg. This is a graph that's telling us where our hospitalization rate is right now. And that last number is over 1,000 in the hospital right now. And so the point of this graph is it's going straight up. Our slope is straight up and there's no end in sight. And schools have just started. Colleges are just going back in session. And so we are expecting more and more transmission because we know that at least 10% of all those cases that we're testing positive right now are likely to lead to hospitalization. So why does it matter in our school system? Why do cases and positives matter for children? In the past, the original coronavirus was not as deadly, not as significant for children. But Delta is different. Delta is more contagious. Delta holds about 1,000 more viral particles in your nose compared with the original coronavirus. And it infects on average 7 to 8 people per every case compared with the original coronavirus, which may have only infected about 2. So that is why we are very concerned right now with our children. When they get coronavirus in general, it's pretty mild. They may have some mild illnesses, but the complications include MIS-C, which is multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. This occurs 2 to 6 weeks after coronavirus. And just because, you all know this, there is a child from this area that's in the hospital in Jackson at the Children's Hospital in the ICU with this condition. So, in the past, people have said coronavirus doesn't affect kids, but that's not true. And it is affecting children in Hattiesburg and Lamar County right now. Just to let you know also, we have babies who have been admitted to the hospital with coronavirus. We admitted a baby today with coronavirus. And it really makes me want to cry because it's preventable. And these are our children, our patients. These are your children and your grandchildren. And so kids are important. We should not put them on the back burner. We should do everything we can to protect them and protect their education, protect them from coronavirus. So what can we do? What can we do in our school to have them in our school safely and prevent them from catching coronavirus? One of the things that has been proven last year, and it worked, we were able to keep kids in school for the majority of the time, learning safely. Last winter, we did not have flu. We did not have RSV. We did not have kids in the hospital with pneumonia. We did not have flu. Everybody was washing their hands. Everybody was wearing a mask, and it was preventing respiratory transmission. So now we're in August, and our hospitals are full. We have RSV out the roof. We have croup. We have every sort of respiratory disease that's out there. Now we're having coronavirus on top of it. So all we're simply asking is that we do everything we can to protect our kids. Masking has been proven to prevent transmission. It works best when everyone wears a mask so that you're not spreading it and you're not at risk of contracting it. This is a study that was published from UNMC, Dr. Charlotte Hobbs. She's a pediatric infectious disease doctor in Jackson, and it was published by the CDC. And it looked at coronavirus cases in kids and where they came from. And what they found was school with masks, socially distanced, and the appropriate measures did not increase the risk of contracting coronavirus. The kids who contracted it were more likely to have attended a wedding or a party or a funeral or a play date. Outside activities where there was not masking and there was not social distancing. So we know we can do school and we can do it safely, but we have to have those layers of safety measures in place, which include hand hygiene, masking, the physical distancing, and all those other layers of protection. This is a little busy slide, but this is another protective measure for our children ages 12 and up, and these are vaccines that are available. The Pfizer vaccine is available, and it's been given through Harrisburg Clinic and through our clinic, pediatric clinic. We have given over 500 doses of the COVID-19 Pfizer vaccine very safely. The safety profile has been excellent. We have not had any complications, and we are seeing more and more 12 and up who are getting vaccinated. I was actually met Dr. Hanson, and some of you last week, we gave vaccines at Oak Grove High School and Middle School. On Thursday, we gave vaccines at Summerall on Wednesday. Unfortunately, it kind of had a low turnout because both of those schools were in quarantine. So a lot of people who had signed up for vaccine were actually either virtual or quarantined at that moment. But we are giving vaccines on a regular basis at the Harrisburg Clinic, at the pediatric clinic, at clinics all throughout Mississippi, trying to get those ages 12 and up vaccinated. So Lamar County is actually doing a lot better than Forest County right now. Lamar County has about 47% of the population receiving at least one dose. And so that's good news, but it's not high enough to prevent that community transmission. So we are encouraging people to get themselves vaccinated and get their family members aged 12 and up vaccinated against coronavirus. And I think this last one just illustrates where we are right now. In Mississippi, this is a graph of Mississippi, and our children aged 12 to 15, 9% of them are fully vaccinated. So that means only 1 out of 10 Mississippi children aged 12 to 15 are vaccinated. That means 9 out of 10 are not. In the 16 to 17 year range, that's 15%. And in the 18 to 24 range, that's 21%. And so I know there was confusion at the beginning about masking, and if you were vaccinated, why do you need to wear a mask? And that was a hard thing to understand. If we had had more kids in our schools who were vaccinated, if we had had lower transmission rates in this area, then that would have worked. But right now, when 9 out of 10 children in the schoolroom are unvaccinated, and when Mississippi, unfortunately, is #1 in the nation right now in the COVID positivity rate, it is an unsustainable and unhealthy educational atmosphere to have everyone unmasked. And I also have Dr. Marianne Perez and Dr. Jonathan Shook have come with me today, just to give you a couple of different perspectives. Again, we're all from the pediatric clinic, but every pediatrician in Hattiesburg, children's clinic, children's medical group, pediatric clinic, are all encouraging vaccination and masking and everything that a family and a school system and the leadership can do to protect our kids and keep them in school safely. Thank you for having me.
So for the superintendent's report, that would be item number 8. I would first like to take a few minutes of my time to recognize good people. really care about your kids. Sorry. First, her name's not on here. She is a glue that's holding us together right now. That's Meg Stewart. Please stand. Day in and day out, I get text from her from 12 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. And she's working and trying to contact her to make sure their children are safe. I want to recognize that if you're here, please stand up. Our nurses in our district who've been on the front lines, just like you guys have in the hospitals and the clinics. Hagen Barber from Oakland Long Week. Nikki Youngin from Raymond Baxterville. Paula Atterbury from Oakland Primary. Courtney Green from Lower Elementary. Eric Wade from Oak Grove Upper Elementary. Christy Ham from Oak Grove Middle School. Brooke Smith from Oak Grove High School. Katie Wooten from Purvis Lower Elementary. Melinda Baker from Purvis Upper Elementary. Susan Shannon from Purvis Middle School and High School. Jennifer Davion from Summerlin. Samantha Marshall, Summerlin Middle and High. Kelsey Denini, our district officer. Jeff Harper from Bumberton. Kristen Rustin from our Deputy God Education. Thank you all for everything. It's been recognized, and we do recognize the hard work that you do. So, I'd kind of like to take a few minutes to talk about this school year. Beginning of the year, our goal was to start this year off as normal as possible. At that time, we were seeing low transmission rates. We were seeing very low transmission rates both in the public, and we were seeing it both in our schools and the work we had on in campuses. Our first days with students were August 22nd for last names A through K, and Friday, August 23rd for last names L through Z. By Wednesday, August 28th, we had already had quarantined or isolated over 1,100 students. We understand, and Dr. Newsom, maybe we'll put you on the spot, but the incubation or period of this virus is somewhere around 4 to 5, 7 days, somewhere around there.
Anywhere from 2 to
10
to 14.
10 to 14 days. And so typically what we're seeing is about a 5-day on average. And, when you start counting those days, it's right on track when we start. By Monday, August the 2nd, we had our highest reported close contact and positive cases of 343 students that we sent home in one day. That number has started to drop since then, and we're still high. Because we had to quarantine students for 14 days and isolate them for 10 days, we are still seeing the effects of starting school without face coverings. We are still seeing those who are still in that incubation period. Currently, we have 9 schools. Currently, today, we had to go virtual with 2 more that are had to do closed due to outbreaks. Go virtual. It should be virtual due to outbreaks. We have over 1,900, and I had to change that slide before I left because we were under 1,900, and I said almost 1,900. But over through the day, it goes up. We have over 1,900 as quarantined or isolated. We have 444 students who have tested positive in our district this year. We also have 70 employees who have tested positive for COVID. Between Saturday, Sunday, and today, we had 247 students who were reported to be close contacts or positive. That's where Meg and our nurses and all of them are working on the weekends, close contacting and getting those reports. Here are our virtual schools at this point, all 9 of them, and which days they come back. We follow the Mississippi Department of Health guidelines, and they're consistent with the CDC public health guidelines and recommendations of universal masking for all teachers, staff, students, visitors in the K-12 setting.
when not eating or drinking regardless of vaccination status. It asks us to maintain 3 feet physical distance between students in the classroom setting and non-use universal indoor masking. And all unvaccinated individuals exposed COVID-19 should immediately quarantine or be excluded from the school setting as outlined below. And that's some other information. In the K-12 settings, the Mississippi Department of Health guidelines, the classroom setting, close contact is defined. Definition excludes students who were within 3 to 6 feet of an infected student. Were both wearing, were both students. In the K-12 classroom setting, close contact definition excludes students who were within 3 to 6 feet of an infected student, where both students were engaged in consistent and correct use of wearing well-fitted masks. Other K-12 school prevention strategies such as universal use of mask use, physical distancing, increased ventilation were in place in the K-12 school settings. This exception does not apply to teachers, staff, and other adults in the indoor classroom setting. Outbreak is defined as three or more positive cases in a defined area. That would be a classroom, sporting activity. And so there would be 3 or more cases. And then a outbreak. So then Mississippi Department of Health should consider dismissal of the entire student faculty under the following conditions. If you have 3 or more individual classroom settings, defined groups, or defined buildings that are experiencing simultaneous outbreaks, or multiple absentees or exclusions from students and staff are leading to disruptions in on-campus functioning and impacting the learning environment as determined by the school. Decide upon dismissal should be for at least 14 days, and that's why we had to shut this down for 14 days. Now, I'd like to show you some information that we have that we report every week to the Mississippi Department of Health, and you'll see some very, very, it correlates very, very well with what's going on in our communities. Here, and this is how many employees we've quarantined since the beginning of this year. The blue line is the fall of last school year, this time last year. The green line is the January to May of this year, of this past school year, but this calendar year, spring of 2021. The red line in every one of these is going to be what we have experienced in the last 3 weeks, of our school operations. So as you can see, we've quarantined over 86 of our employees in the last 3 weeks. And I do also have the percentages of those employees at this time, over 118. Currently quarantined or isolated. That 82 was reported to the Mississippi Department of Health since Sunday. Is that when it cut off? Since cut off Friday. Since Friday, we quarantined another 82, 118 employees with positive cases. As you can see, the red line is where we are right now after 3 weeks of operations of school week. As you can see, that's more, almost not quite double than most we've had all of last year. And at this time, overall, we've had 66 employees who have tested positive. Quarantine, and again, I just read to you, it was over 1,900. This is a number that we have had students who are quarantined or isolated at this point. 16, that's what we reported last Friday. From last Friday to now, it's over 1,900. It is almost double, if not more, than any past number we had last year. As far as percentages on our campuses, right now you can see it's at 1905, 18.1% of our students are quarantined. If all our schools were in session, but all our schools were not in session, it was virtual. But if we were having to, quarantine all our students, it would still be 1,900. That is 20%, almost 20. It's 10,600 students, so 18.1%. There's some differences, and that's where it does these things, because I know you have children. And why is my middle school kid coming home, and why is my elementary still being able to stay in school and this and the other? You have to understand, in elementary, teacher needs to have one certification to teach elementary K through 6. They can teach any subject core academic subject from K through 6 schools. They can teach your child math, science, social studies, and reading and language arts. And when you get into middle school, when you start having to have Carnegie units or offering Carnegie units, those teachers have to be certified in the specific area that they teach in. So if they teach math in the middle school, they have to be certified in math 7 through 12. They teach science, they have to be certified in science 7 through 12. Biological sciences and physical sciences also go into that equation. So when you have those different certifications, you have to change classes throughout the day because our middle school and high school students have to change from first block to second block, or first period to second period, third period. Our elementary students are able to sit in the same classroom and be taught by the same teacher, more or less, or 2 teachers at the most. Because we do have teachers who specialize in the math or the language arts. So in the middle school and high school, if you're a middle school student, have 8 classes a day. So they're typically about 6 is what they typically have in middle school, because we block 2 classes. They have 8 periods and 6 classes. They will go, and if I was a positive student and I was sitting in the first period class, if I tested positive, then I am exposing everyone in my first period class. When I change and I go to second block or second period, I expose everyone in my second period class. When I go to third period, I expose everyone, and it goes on and on and on. So that's when we see the quarantine rate for high school and middle schools so high, is because they have more exposure to more students and more teachers throughout the class, throughout the day, than any other of our group in middle school and high school. Student positive cases. As of Friday, it was 218. That number's up by now. That was what we reported for that week. That's not total. You can average, 64, 114, and 218 will give you the total number. Like I said, it's up to 444, what I had on the other slide. Positivity rate in our schools. I put this one up because, we got enough in each building that we're not running the risk of identifying, we're not running the risk of being able to identify students. When you have low numbers, you run the risk of confidentiality. We're not running that risk anymore because we've got enough in every building. Outbreaks. This is 3 or more. You have three positive cases in 3 or more settings. So we reported last week 53 outbreaks in our schools. Here's the totals for the year, and again, this is not updated. It's actually talked about with the positive students, and that's the thing I want you to look at. Our positive students, student positives. First semester of last year was 245. Second semester of last year was 292, and within 3 weeks, we're at 444. That's not 396, it's 444 positive students. So that's in my presentation. I do want to make some recommendations to the board on behalf of myself and the safety of our students. I would like to recommend on Monday, August 16th, we begin hybrid learning an AD schedule with groups of students K through 12. Last name is A through K. B group would be L through Z. That we go to hybrid. Schools that are currently in virtual will return to a hybrid when we finish it. We'll have 2 groups of students, group A, group B. Siblings will be able to attend with one another if they happen to have different last names. Group A will attend on Mondays and Wednesdays and every other Friday. Group B will attend on Tuesdays and Thursdays and then every other Friday. Each group will alternate on the Fridays. All students will be required to log into the Google Meets, just as normal from the Mississippi Department of Education. They're given us guidelines for 330 minutes of instruction a day. This Google Meets will be open. We'll also send packets home for those who have connectivity so that they can receive instruction and upload those, hopefully some videos upload to Chromebooks or have information that we can send home that you don't have to have connectivity while they're at home. In attendance will be taking each other. Parents and guardians wishing to, for their students to attend completely virtual, will be able to contact their child's principal and request virtual at this time. With no doctor's excuses, those are the transmission rates that we're having in our schools, we feel like we need to offer the parents who wish to get to home virtually, complete virtual, they will do that. I also recommend that we continue to follow this health guidelines as far as face coverings and masks.
So you may have said this, what will a day, if A group is in school, what will that day look like for the B group?
B group will be logged in, we will meet, participating in.
During that same class?
During that same class, the B group will be participating if they have connectivity. So synchronous is required. Synchronous is required. If they do not have connectivity, we'll do everything we can to provide them with videos or some lessons that they can work at home for the 330 minutes of instruction.
I guess one question I have about Hampton. The reality is that kids are still going out and doing stuff and they're still together. This really isn't about them splitting up. This is really more about us, spreading out.
Correct. This is
Control, keeping the schools open, with close contacts, and things like that.
That's with the guidelines of the wearing face covering, we can ensure that they're 3 feet apart. This will help us ensure the social distancing within our classroom.
And so once we've done that, then the outbreaks and the measurement of outbreaks, the likelihood of outbreaks should increase, and we should be able to have that school open. We don't have to go 2 to 3 days a week. We expect the school to meet every day in person.
Correct.
Continue to offer everybody who needs it, consider food.
Correct.
And those type of
Our child nutrition department will send food home to students like we did last year. And that we were able to have, they eat that day and then send home breakfast and lunch. So.
How long do you think that recommendations, what duration? It's an idea. How will we know when we have reached the point where we may be able to come back if we go this route to full-time in person?
I think it has to be a combination of what we're seeing inside of our schools, because I do think the mitigation of going to the hybrid schedule, we're going to see a drop. But I think it has to be in conjunction with what's going on in the community as well. We have to take that into consideration, because that's where we are now. As you can see from the data that I showed and Dr. Henderson showed, it matches, correlates just identically. And so as goes the public and as goes the community, as goes the schools. And so that's I think we have to take those into consideration. I would love to be able to say that we're only going to be hybrid for 2 to 3 weeks at the most. I don't know what that looks like. I do know that we'll do everything we can to get our students in. Again, from day one, I told everybody in the public, in person, face-to-face learning is the best way for our children to learn. Just don't feel like it's safe at this time with the data that we have to show that we can do it at this time. So instead of having all of our schools virtual at this time, I think best to go to the hybrid. We've proven that last year. We were able to do that in our middle school and high school. The only difference is now we're seeing a lot more transmission in our elementary. Our elementary numbers are higher than this time, so that's why I'm recommending taking it.
I guess, what are we going to do about athletics and extracurriculars and things like that from a capacity standpoint, from a participation standpoint, and from a small spectator standpoint?
Mississippi High School Activity Association says that students who are fully virtual cannot participate in extracurricular activities. And however, we will be able to maintain some of the participation in their extracurricular activities. We will monitor those, and as we get those 3 or more outbreaks, we'll have to shut those sports down if we see those 3 or more positive cases within the confined area in that group of students.
So one of the things that I've talked about with you with this, was to make short-term goals.
Sure.
Short-term plans and ideas get loud there.
I know.
Get excited. So, just because we don't know, what the Delta variant,
Right.
we're hoping that it does what it did in Great Britain, but we don't know. So what if we were to say that we'll reevaluate right before Labor Day? And have another look at it again.
We're constantly evaluating where we are when it comes to COVID, and I would love to reevaluate on a weekly basis to see where our numbers and the community numbers. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I do think that,
That's what I was just looking at, just my calendar. So if we started on the 16th, that would give us 3 full weeks of it. And that way we're saying, not saying a stop date, but we're saying a day that we're going to look at it. Let's try this. Let's let the numbers go down. I don't know. I just think.
yeah, absolutely.
We had a stop date.
Yeah, this is hopefully a short-term measure, that we have to take with this, with what we're doing. And we'd love to reevaluate as soon as possible. If it's for Labor Day, that's fine. If it's sooner than that, I'm good. Like I said, we're monitoring minute to minute, day to day.
I'm texting with you every 5 minutes. I know. Never not, but I mean, yeah, maybe the week before Labor Day,
Yeah.
we can finish it up and say, all right, so maybe start back up.
I'd love to be able to come back.
Nobody all secure. Even if we just, I mean,
My biggest fear, I don't want to be hybrid, I want to be in school every day. My biggest fear is that, because I have high school kids, I see what's going on, despite the fact that we tried to take 2 weeks off, they haven't checked up at all, they're still hanging out every day in birthday parties, and getting together and swimming and everything else.
We have
So as
continued.
soon as we get back in school, I'm afraid if we don't do something like this, we're gonna immediately have to shut it back down. And that's a pretty vicious 2 week cycle, because it also does completely eliminate all extracurriculars, clubs, bands, sports, whatever. If we do that, if it's a never-ending churn.
We have continually, through the schools, we've had schools that have been over, in virtual learning for a week, and throughout this whole last week, we have continually received, notifications from parents that positive, students have tested positive, over the schools that they're working with. And so I do agree, that's why I said it's gotta be a community plus a school effort.
Does it still hold true, and this may be for doctors, that if you're positive right now, when you're in close contact for the first 90 days after, do you still have the antibodies that allows you not to have to quarantine again? That's still the case. So you get, once you've got it, you've got the 90-day pass, for lack of a better word. So there is some motivation for students to report that have it. And make sure we're
Anytime a
aware.
student is, anytime a student, we get notification, a student has tested positive, the first questions we ask is, have you had COVID before, at what time? If it's within 90 days, or, close contact, or have you had the vaccine from students from,
They have to be asymptomatic.
had to be asymptomatic.
They haven't had it, they have symptoms.
Right. But vaccinated, we're not giving anybody a pass. If you're close contact and vaccinated, you're still subject to the normal quarantine testing, and maybe a few different days.
No. If you're vaccinated, student or teacher or employee, and you're asymptomatic, you do not have to quarantine until you experience some symptoms.
And that's still, but that's still Department of Health guidelines.
Yeah.
But we certainly are seeing breakthrough cases.
But I do recommend if you can exposed in close contact, continue to monitor for symptoms. And they do recommend to consider getting a test at 5 days.
For 5 days.
5 days. But it's not required. It's not required to quarantine, but what they're asking is if you've been vaccinated, monitor for symptoms and consider being tested at 5 days just to make sure you're not one of those asymptomatic who's caught it, but you're fine because you were vaccinated.
Okay, go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, so for clarification, I'm confused as to what Mr. Mayo and Mr. Hampton are saying. are we saying we are going to continue with athletics and groups and clubs during the hybrid, just as we did last year? Or we are going to cut all those off for right now?
We will continue under the hybrid. When schools come out of their virtual, the ones that are all virtual now, they can't participate when they're full virtual. But when they come out of the virtual, they go hybrid. We will continue, resume our extracurricular activities.
It's only if they go fully virtual.
Yes.
It's a matter of if they came back out and went right back in, they could cancel everything again for the next 2 weeks again.
Thank you. And as far as children who simply want to choose to be virtual, did you say that they can do that now without medical backing up?
Right, but if they choose that, they will not be able to participate in any extracurricular activity or the Mississippi High School Activity Association.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
And if they choose that, then I really think that they should choose it for a set period of time.
We already have that in our virtual learning.
I don't think that it should be a wishy-washy thing, because we're trying to control numbers here. We're trying to keep it. Yeah, okay.
If they choose virtual,
They'll do the first 1 week.
whatever that number is.
And then come back to starting the second week after our 2 week.
Is this some effective step we can take to help our part in schools? To go to a scenario like this where we can spread out and do that, is this our best course of action? From what you see, what you know, what our options really are? I mean, we're trying to spread out, it's really we're going to spread them out, which I guess ultimately is the biggest thing we can do to slow it, at least while we're in the school.
And we're the map.
Yeah, with the math, yeah.
The mask situation is really going to be important to think about long term until transmission rates are low enough and vaccination rates are low enough. So it is a layered approach. Hybrid, so you're every other day, you're spread out. So you're lowering transmission. All of those things along with hygiene, anti-hygiene, masking, and increasing vaccination rates, all those things together. And as you pointed out, telling your students, just because you're hybrid or just because you're virtual doesn't mean hang out with everyone all weekend.
I don't think it's students who need to tell, it's parents who need to tell. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. It's not students.
Yes.
Parents.
So that's where that slide showed you the transmission happens at birthday parties, sleepovers, at big weddings, at big funerals, at big indoor events.
So Dr. Hampton has proposed hybrid schedule to begin Monday, August the 16th for all schools in Lamar County with the AB option, A through K, A through K for day A, and then L through Z for day B, and then alternating each Friday. So I believe this calls for a vote, guys. We're moving down.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
All right, Jeremy, the motion, second for discussion.
Can we say, could we evaluate the needs of all?
Yes, I'll add that to the motion, reevaluate. August 30th. And then we're also going to add in there that if a parent decides to have their student virtual, that they do not need a doctor's excuse to do that, but they finish an entire.
I agree with all that. Motion.
Jeannie, any questions while we have a discussion?
No, I agree with all of that.
All right, so I have a motion and a second.
One more, and that is with mask, with
That was with
mandatory
mask,
mask
yes.
inside indoors.
Sorry, I'll put all that in one motion. Everybody good?
Aye.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And that passes. Dr. Henderson, Thank y'all very much. Dr. Bumberton as well. Thank you. All right, item number 15 is to set a work session meeting for Monday, September the 13th at Bumberton High School, beginning at 4:30 p.m.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Maybe a second. I mean,
Check your calendar.
yeah, maybe. Probably.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 16 is to set the next regular meeting for Monday, September 13th at Lumberton High School, beginning at 6 p.m.
So moved. We do reserve the right to, if we have to move that to a.
Yeah. In both of those instances, if we do have to move this to online, we'll make that notification in the proper time.
So moved.
All right, have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 17 is to set the board tour of school facilities for September the 29th, 2021. You'll have a motion.
I move as well, tentative to.
Kindergarten.
Stuff.
Yes, I
For that,
think we're going to wait and set a time. Good morning, we're going to try and get these ones. Mary,
I will have to work a little while. So,
9 o'clock.
after.
9:30. Okay, after 9. All right. We'll make sure we make it after 9 o'clock. All right, so I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor? Any opposed? And that passes. Item number 18 is our consent agenda. Mr. Mayo, any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Chance? Ms. Hensley?
No questions.
Okay, open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion that we, approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Matt, all in favor? Any opposed? And that passes. We have no other. Number 19, number 20. Consider executive session.
Motion to consider executive session for, one matter of 16th section land.
I have a second. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? And that passes.
make a motion that we enter executive session.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in executive session. I want to thank you for your attendance and come back and see us next month. We like having some folks show up. Thank you.
Dr. Perez, Dr. Choate.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Dr. Bailey. Thank you to our nurses. I know y'all remember everything. I need my drink.
Yeah, we'll go back to the library. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item 23 is to recess. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Pray for-
Praying for you, Jeannie.
Text
Okay,
call.
we're out of executive session now.
Thank you so much. Hey, is it over? I want
Yes.
to make sure. Okay.
Hold on.
Hey, how is,
Hold on.
okay.
Do you want to call? We can get out of the meeting? No.
Yeah.
You can call me.
I'll call you. Okay, bye.
You muted, Dr. Hampton?
And like,